Hi, welcome to our channel, Programming of Mind, where we accelerate your knowledge with concise, from high-value book summaries. Let's begin. The Field of Battle, Arjuna's Crisis of Consciousness. The story begins on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where two great armies are ready for battle. These armies represent the forces of righteousness, the Pandavas, and the forces of unrighteousness, the Kauravas. The battle is not just physical, but also metaphysical, symbolizing the inner struggle between good and evil, light and dark, and truth and ignorance. At this critical juncture, the warrior prince Arjuna stands on the precipice of a life-altering decision. The context of the battlefield. The scene is set on the vast plains of Kurukshetra, where Arjuna and his kinsmen, the Pandavas, are about to engage in battle with the Kauravas. These two families, who were once united by blood, are now divided by greed, ambition, and a thirst for power. Arjuna, the greatest archer of his time, is faced with the moral dilemma of whether to fight in a war that will result in the destruction of his own family, friends, and teachers. He is a warrior by birth, yet he is caught in the crossfire of duty, compassion, and righteousness. The armies are arrayed, with both sides having their formidable leaders, such as Bhishma, Drona, and Kripa on the Kaurava side, and the Pandavas led by Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, and the mighty Nakula and Sadhava. As the war drums are heard and the soldiers prepare for battle, Arjuna is overtaken by a deep internal conflict. Arjuna's dilemma, the great crisis of conscience. Arjuna, the central character, is a figure who embodies both strength and wisdom. He is a prince, a warrior, and a master archer, yet he is now faced with an emotional and moral crisis. As he surveys the battlefield, he is overwhelmed by feelings of sorrow and compassion. His heart sinks as he sees his own relatives, teachers, and friends lined up on both sides, ready to fight to the death. Arjuna recognizes that this war is not just about the clash of armies. It is about the destruction of the very fabric of his life. Arjuna speaks to his charioteer, Lord Krishna, expressing his anguish. He says, "I do not wish to kill my kinsmen, nor my teachers, for it is through them that I have learned everything I know. How can I fight when I know that those I fight against are my own people, my own blood? Even if I win this war, what is the value of a victory gained by slaughtering my family? What good is the throne if it comes at the cost of my conscience and honor?" Arjuna's words reflect a deep spiritual crisis, a struggle between the call of duty, dharma, and the pull of his emotions. He is torn between his duty as a warrior and his love for his family and friends. The question he faces is, how can he fight for what he believes is right when the cost is the destruction of everything he holds dear? The emotional turmoil of Arjuna. This moment of crisis represents the fundamental human struggle, how to navigate difficult choices in life when emotions, relationships, and ethical considerations collide. Arjuna is not simply debating whether to fight. He is grappling with the meaning of life itself. What is the point of duty if it leads to destruction? How can one's actions align with righteousness when the consequences seem to contradict one's inner values? Arjuna is not just experiencing confusion. He is experiencing a breakdown of his worldview. In the face of war, where his loyalties are being tested, Arjuna experiences fear, doubt, and a deep sense of helplessness. He feels as though his spiritual foundation has been shaken to its core, and he is no longer sure of what is right. This is a relatable experience for many people. Times in life when one feels conflicted about their duties, responsibilities, or goals. The world around us seems to demand actions that do not align with our sense of truth, and the choices ahead seem unbearable. It is in these moments that we, like Arjuna, must confront our inner dilemmas and seek guidance from a higher source of wisdom. Arjuna's despair, surrendering to Krishna. Unable to resolve his inner turmoil, Arjuna, in his moment of vulnerability, surrenders to Krishna. He recognizes that he is lost, uncertain of what the right path is, and overwhelmed by his emotions. He puts down his bow and confesses, "I am in despair, Krishna. I have no desire to fight. Please guide me. What should I do? I am your disciple. I surrender to you. This act of surrender is the turning point in the story. Arjuna's humility and willingness to admit his limitations become the foundation for the teachings that will follow. In this moment, Arjuna moves from a state of confusion and emotional turmoil to one of acceptance and seeking guidance. This is an important lesson for all of us, recognizing when we are lost and turning to a higher power or wisdom for guidance. The role of Krishna, the divine teacher. With Arjuna's surrender, the scene shifts. Arjuna, now completely vulnerable, turns to his charioteer, Krishna, for answers. Krishna, who had been silent up to this point, now speaks. He begins to offer Arjuna teachings that are as timeless as they are profound. Krishna, representing the divine, speaks to Arjuna from a place of infinite wisdom and compassion. He does not merely give Arjuna instructions on what to do next. He provides Arjuna with a larger perspective on life, duty, and the nature of the universe. Krishna begins by asking Arjuna why he is hesitating. He tells him that his doubts are born from a false understanding of life and death. Krishna explains that the soul is eternal, and what is truly important is not the body, but the soul. He reminds Arjuna that life and death are part of the grand cycle of existence, and that as warriors, they are merely players in a larger cosmic drama. The concept of dharma and righteousness. Krishna introduces the concept of dharma, the cosmic law of righteousness and duty. He explains to Arjuna that, as a warrior, Arjuna's duty is to fight in the war. Arjuna's actions, Krishna says, must align with his role in the world, and the path of righteousness requires him to fulfill his duty without hesitation or fear. This teaching touches on a universal truth, the importance of understanding one's duty in life and acting in accordance with that knowledge. Arjuna, like many of us, is caught in the web of personal desires and attachments, unable to see that his true purpose is far beyond his individual concerns. Krishna's message is clear. Action performed with a sense of duty, without attachment to the results, is the key to spiritual liberation. The wisdom of detachment, Karma Yoga. Krishna elaborates further on the concept of Karma Yoga, the path of selfless action. He teaches that one must perform their duties without attachment to the outcome. The fruits of actions are not to be expected or desired. Instead, actions must be done with a sense of detachment and surrender to the divine will. Arjuna's question about the consequences of war leads Krishna to explain the importance of not being attached to success or failure. In this teaching, Krishna introduces a profound spiritual truth. When one performs their actions with full commitment, but without attachment to the results, one achieves inner peace and equanimity. This is the essence of Karma Yoga, the art of living without being weighed down by the fruits of one's labor. In the context of Arjuna's situation, Krishna explains that fighting in the war is Arjuna's dharma as a warrior. By performing his duty without attachment to whether he wins or loses, Arjuna can achieve spiritual freedom. Krishna urges Arjuna to rise above the distractions of the ego and act in accordance with his higher nature, the nature of the soul and immortality. One of the most profound teachings Krishna imparts to Arjuna in this section is the nature of the soul. Krishna reminds Arjuna that the soul is eternal and indestructible. Bodies are born and perish, but the soul transcends birth and death. Krishna uses the metaphor of clothing. Just as one changes old clothes for new ones, the soul moves from one body to another. This teaching is intended to free Arjuna from the fear of death and the paralyzing effect it has on his decisions. Through this wisdom, Krishna invites Arjuna to transcend his personal fears and attachments and to see the bigger picture. Arjuna's purpose is not to cling to life or to avoid the inevitable, but to act according to his dharma with courage, integrity, and wisdom. The call to action. Krishna's teachings inspire Arjuna to rise above his despair and take action. Krishna does not ask Arjuna to abandon his emotions or his human nature. Instead, he asks him to channel his feelings into the right actions. Arjuna's doubts and fears are not to be dismissed, but understood and transcended. Krishna empowers Arjuna to perform his duties with a sense of clarity, purpose, and spiritual awareness. At the end of this first part, Arjuna, though still filled with inner conflict, begins to understand that the answers he seeks lie not in avoiding his responsibilities, but in embracing them with a clear and detached mind. He is called to act as a warrior, not with anger or hatred, but with righteousness, compassion, and devotion. Thank you for listening, and please like the video and subscribe for more great upcoming content that will put you in top 1% people in the world.